Encanto the movie explores Colombia's rich culture through the magical family. Beyond its visuals and music, the film reflects Latin American values, family roles, and communication styles. It highlights how culture shapes interactions in multi-generational households, making it an ideal case study for analyzing cross-cultural communication and identity.
Encanto tells the story of the Madrigal family, who live in a magical house hidden in the mountains of Colombia. Each family member possesses a unique magical gift, except for Mirabel, the spirited protagonist. When her magic begins to fade, Mirabel starts her journey to uncover the truth behind the family's struggles and restore their powers. The film celebrates Colombian culture and the literary style of magical realism while exploring deep themes such as identity, family expectations, and emotional pressure. Though not set in a specific era, its timeless, rural setting reflects traditional Colombian life and society-based living, bringing authenticity to heartfelt narrative.
Now, I'll talk about how Encanto explores identity and how expectations can affect self-worth and relationships. In the film, identity is shaped by family culture and others' expectations. In Encanto, helping and caring for the family are highly valued, but when someone doesn't meet those expectations, they may feel sad and disconnected. For example, Luisa's gift is strength. Everyone depends on her, but in her song Surface Pressure, she reveals how stressed and afraid she feels. She believes her value comes only from being strong. Isabella, who makes perfect flowers and feels trapped by the pressure to the flawless. Only when she's create freely does she feel happy. Mirabelle has no magical gift. Even though she smiles, she feels excluded and unworthy. She just wants to feel seen and loved. By the end, the family learns that true love means accepting people for who they are, not just for what they can do. Encanto teaches us that embracing identity and supporting each other creates confidence, connection, and emotional well being. Thank you.
I will be talking about one of the arguments, which is prejudice and fear of differences in Encanto. The film presents how fear of the unknown can lead to social exclusions and poor interpersonal connections. People often feel threatened by other social groups, especially when they perceive them as interfering with their daily life. This fear can grow into prejudice, an attitude based on ignorance that lead to discrimination. In Encanto, this is clearly seen in the character Bruno's. Although he is gifted with the abilities to see the future, his prophecies are often misunderstood and feared. The family even sing We Don't Talk About Bruno's, showing how deeply the fear of his abilities runs within them. One example is Peppa, who blames Bruno for predicting rain on her wedding day, which turned into a storm. Bruno's green poncho, decorated with hourglasses, symbolize peace and time, but the madrigals and the town misinterpret his gift as a treat. Over time, he becomes an outcast not because he is dangerous, but because his truth is hard to hear. Ultimately, the film used Bruno's story as a metaphor for how societies often reject those who are different or misunderstood. It critiques the way people build walls around others of a fear. But Encanto also offers hopes, showing that healing is possible when we choose understanding over judgment. By the end, Bruno is accepted back into the family, and that symbolizes the power of overcoming prejudice through compassion and open communication.
In this section, we explore how Encanto uses non-verbal communication to express deep emotions and complex family dynamics. This figure shows Luisa, who says she wants to be a strong and reliable girl, but her body language tells a different story. Her slouched shoulders, tired face, and deep sighs shows the emotional burden she carries. This contrast between what she says and how she looks, which reflects the hidden pressure from her family role. While in this figure we can see Mirabelle's outfit is filled with colorful simple stitches. This symbol shows that even without magic, she values love and unity from her family members. Her bright clothing is different from the rest of her family's traditional outfits, and this emphasizes her characteristic and emotional depth. Finally, Casitas, the magical house. It visually reacts to emotional stress like tiles crack, doors flicker, and walls shift. Mirroring the breakdown of family's connection, Casitas becomes a non-verbal symbol of the family's emotional state. These non-verbal elements allow audience to connect the characters on a deeper level beyond what's spoken. Through this technique, Encanto shows how non-verbal code enrich storytelling, helping us to understand characters' emotion and relationship.
Encanto portrays how cultural norms and mores deeply shape the Madrigal family's relationships and sense of identity. In the Colombian village, magical gifts are more than special traits. They are expectations tied to a person's worth. Luisa, gifted with superhuman strength, feels the pressure to always be strong and dependable, even when she is emotionally exhausted. Meanwhile, Mirabelle, who has no gift, is excluded from family rituals and photographs, highlighting how not fitting into these moral expectations leads to emotional isolation and hidden discrimination. Camillo, the shapeshifter, hides his true identity to please others, and Isabella is boxed into growing perfect flowers when she longs to express wild creativity. These characters represent how Moors can create emotional stress when conformity outweighs individuality. While the norms help the family stay united and respected, Encanto reminds us that real strength lies in accepting each other beyond gifts and loving one another who we truly are.
I'm gonna talk about individualism and collectivism that can be found in Encanto. So, in individualism culture, individuals are more concerned to achieve their personal objective rather than group-oriented objective. This culture can be found in Western country like United States and also United Kingdom. While collectivism is individuals that develop a strong bond with their social group, such as family and community. So this culture can be found in Asian country like Malaysia itself, where appearance is a reflection of the family reputation. In Encanto, Mirabel confronts Abuela about the unfair treatment that she got from her grandmother just because she is powerless. In this scene, where Mirabel said, "I will never be good enough for you," where she confronts Abuela, show that she prioritizes herself. She also goes to discover the family secret, even though those things can ruin the family reputation. So we can see here that Mirabel prefers freedom and her own goal instead of following other people's commands. For collectivism, we can see the Abuela character who prioritizes her family and community first. She hides the family problem as she wants to protect the Madrigal reputation and keep denying it when villagers ask if anything happened to the family. So, we can see that Abuela emphasized the harmony between community instead of one problem. So there is a scene where she said there is nothing wrong with La Casa Madrigal, which is the house that gives them power, but she lied when it is actually there is something happen with the power.
But what makes Encanto so powerful is how Mirabel chooses to resist this narrative. Instead of accepting her outsider status, she challenged the very idea that worth should be tied to ability. Mirabel begins to notice that while everyone appears perfect on the outside, there's an emotional cracks forming inside the family, caused by the intense pressure to meet expectations. Through empathy, honesty, and genuine care, Marbles become the only one who can truly heal the family. She helps them realize that strength doesn't come from perfection or power. It comes from vulnerability, love, and connection. From an intercultural communication point of view, this shows how internal bias, especially within families or tight-knit communities, can block meaningful relationships. It's not always outsiders who exclude us. Sometimes it's those the closest to us. Mirabel's journey is a beautiful reminder that we embrace differences. We not only break harmful norms, but we also build stronger, more inclusive bond with one another. Thank you. Mirabel is the only Madrigal family member without a magical gift, and because of that, she is treated differently. Her uniqueness isn't celebrated, instead, it is seen as a flaw. Abola, the family matriarch, often exclude her from the important family moments, reinforcing this idea that Mirabel doesn't measure up or belong. This reflects what Ting, Tommy, and Chung described about collectivism culture, where an individual's value is closely tied to how well they contribute to the group's goals. Since Mirabel doesn't have a magical function, she's seen as not fulfilling her role, and therefore becomes somewhat a burden or outsider within her own family. But it is important to ask, where did this belief system come from? It is actually stems from trauma. After loss Abuela experienced early on, she became committed to protecting the family magical legacy. Over time, that protection turned into perfectionism, believing that the only way to preserve the magic was through control and flawless performance. This made any difference or deviation, like Mirabel, not just unwelcome, but dangerous in Abuela's eyes.
Next, a review of Encanto not just as a magical tale, but also story rich in communications, identity, and emotions. The film explores how family expectations, cultural belief, and hidden emotions shape identities and relationships. We see this through characters like Maribel, Bruno's, Luisa, and Abuela. In a collectivist culture like the Madrigal's personal worth is tied to one contribution. For example, Luisa feels constant pressure to be strong as shown in her song Surface Pressure, and Isabella begins to feel free only when she created wild plants instead of perfect ones. Mirabel, who has no magic, tries to stay positive but still feel excluded, highlighting how over expectation can harm self-worth. The movie also addresses prejudice and fear of differences, especially through Bruno. Though he has the gift of prophecy, the family fears his visions and isolates him. The song We Don't Talk About Bruno symbolizes this rejection, showing how misunderstanding leads to discrimination even within families. Nonverbal communication also play a key role, from Luisa's exhausted posture to Casita cracking wounds, which reflect emotional tension. Using ORBE theories, Mirabel shows assertive accommodation, respectfully challenging family norms, while Bruno chooses separation, hiding from judgment. Even powerful characters like Luisa and Isabella face internal struggles, revealing how cultural pressure affects everyone. Through face negotiation theory, we see Bruno using face restoration to protect himself, while Abuela eventually practiced face giving by recognizing Mirabel's value. This shift helped the family begins to heal. In the end, Encanto teaches us the power of listening, understanding, and accepting others even when they don't fit the mold.
This slide explains ORBE theory developed by Mark Ock. It describes how marginalized individuals communicate with dominant groups using strategies assimilation, accommodation, and separation. In Encanto, we see these strategies clearly. Mirabel uses assertive accommodation. She challenges family norms respectfully and pushes for inclusion. Bruno uses non-assertive separation. He isolates himself physically and emotionally after being rejected. Luisa and Isabella seems like part of the dominant group, but they struggle with internal pressure. With Mirabel's support, they slowly began to express their true self. ORB theory helps us to understand how characters in Encanto deal with power, identity, and belonging, just like people do in real life.
Next, I'm going to talk about face negotiation theory that can be found in Encanto. So, this theory talks about how self-image and desire to maintain face shape way they interact with others during conflict situation. So, the importance of this theory is it can resolve the conflict with harmony instead of argument, and also help to improve our communication by dealing with complicated situation based on the other person background image. So there is two type of face that I'm gonna talk about here. So the first one is face restoration, which is a negative face that show the ability to practice personal freedom and protect themselves from the other's judgment. So we can see from the scene of Bruno represent this face as he maintained the personal freedom when he was under pressure of her grandmother, Abuela. Next is face giving. So for this phase, it is a positive phase that emphasizes to defend the other party needs for inclusion and also association, which is observed when there is relationship between two parties. So in here, there is a scene where Abuela actually acknowledged Mirabel and tell her that she was the part of the family. So in here, we can see that Abuela actually practice this face and validate Mirabel's feeling.